There we go. Joe Arrington, Arrington, Public Information Officer, San Antonio Fire. So just after 11 a.m. this morning, San Antonio Fire Department was called for a report of a structure fire out here in the 4400 block of Wrangler Run on the city's far south side. Early reports indicated it might have been a car fire, but when crews, we have a station right down the street, and when they got out, they recognized that it was a working structure fire. When they arrived on scene, extensive fire involvement in the house, heavily involved, fire coming out of every opening in the house. They knew they would not be able to go inside to fight it offensively, so they upgraded it to a second alarm because of the proximity of the neighboring structures being so close. They were able to keep the fire from spreading extensively to those neighboring homes, but the one home in the original fire home is going to be a total loss. Once that fire was out and we were able to get back inside and start hitting hotspots, we did find, unfortunately, 4 fatality victims inside the home. It does appear to be everyone that was living in the home is now an obvious fatality fire. So it's a very dark day for the fire department here. Working hand in hand with Arson, obviously, and PD to investigate it. The medical examiner is here on scene. And so early on, obviously, it's still a very active scene, very involved going into that piece by piece. And obviously, it's going to be under investigation. Cause of the fire as well as the cause of death will be under investigation pending a medical examiner outcome.
Neighbor reported hearing what sounded like explosion.
Right.
Any indication on what that might have been?
Something they're still looking into. We do know that this neighborhood is powered by electric only. There is no gas. So they're looking into it. Obviously, our fire scene investigators as well as our arson investigators are both here. Once the medical examiner completes what they need to get done, they'll go in and try to determine an exact cause of the fire. Too early to even speculate on what that is. So it's going to be still obviously a very active investigation that will be going on for some time.
So it began with the vehicle?
No, so that was what everyone appeared, but there is one vehicle. It's a single car garage. There was a vehicle parked in front of the garage that was on fire as well. It appears the fire started in the home and spread to the car instead of the other way around, like early indications. Original caller said that the car was on fire moving to the home, but it appears it's the other way around. The fire started in the home and moved to the vehicle.
What are the ages of the victims?
Don't have that yet. Don't have any demographics on the victims as of now. That'll come from when the medical examiner starts.
What area of the home was it?
Hard to say. It's like I said, the home is a total loss. It was extensively damaged. The fire had been burning for a while, obviously, before we were alerted. So when crews got here, like I said, Station 53 is right down the street. They got here quickly, and it was already had too extensive fire going for them to make an interior attack. So they had to fight it defensively. Then priority shift, obviously, to keep it from spreading to the neighboring homes. There is some damage to both homes on each side, but it is not, something that needs to be repaired. So minor damage to those, and then a total loss to the original structure.
Do you believe the explosion was the start of the fire, or was that, you had mentioned it was burning for a while,
right?
And it sounded like neighbors heard an explosion, they came out. It sounded like fire crews arrived pretty quickly
right
after. So do you think
that would be
the fire touched off explosion?
It's all speculation. I don't want to speculate on that. That's something that I'm obviously not trained to look into. That's why we have investigators with both arson and our fire scene investigators to look at. A lot of times, that can be something that happens while the fire is burning, and so something sets off inside the home. But again, it's way too early to tell, and I don't want to speculate on that.
I assume then that you can't say whether or not this was accidental or an intentional, like an arson.
Yeah, that's something they're looking at. Obviously, they're going part of it is where were the victims located? Where is this? Where if they can find what the extensive damage it is. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's hard to see where that fire started when the damage is as severe as here. But that's something they're going to look at. I'll put all that into play, and then once we find out what the cause of death was, if the ME can determine that, all those pieces start to fall into place. So it'll be a while this investigation's going. It's we're a couple hours into the day, so it's going to be here for a while and taking a look at things, taking our time and being meticulous about it.
What's next, Joe?
So the medical examiner is doing their process now. They'll do their investigation, remove the victims from it, and process that to determine a cause of death. Our investigators will keep going through the rubble and looking at it. The 2 neighboring homes, we do have them evacuated right now, mainly just because there's no, obviously the fires that was, that touched those is out, but we want them out of, for safety reasons out of the way while we continue to work around there. The house will be obviously razed. It'll be demolished, what's left.
Does this area have natural gas?
No, this is from what we know and talking to CPS, this is an electric only neighborhood.
Where were the victims located in the house?
It's hard to say. Obviously the structure collapsed, so they'll have to try to recreate that to find exactly where they were at the time. So it's all part of the investigation and very early on.
Were they all found together?
That I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Did the fire reach both sides of the house?
So if you're facing the main structure fire, more damage to the home on the right, or what we would call the Delta side, and minor damage to the left or the Bravo side. So obviously the with the wind blowing the way it was, the home to the left, or the Bravo exposure house, should have extended, more damage. But when the house collapsed, it kind of pushed some fire to the one on the right. So there's some exterior damage to the hardy plank on the side of the house. That obviously it's all repairable.
Joe, they bring in big machines. I'm hearing they're bringing a machine.
Yeah, they will have to.
What's the reason for that?
So it's obviously it's a dangerous structure because it's a complete loss, and it has collapsed. So what they'll do is we'll work with our partners in the city with DSD to come out and raise the remaining to eliminate any danger that may present for the rest of the neighborhood.
And you mentioned there are 4 victims. Are they all believed to be the family of 4 who lived there?
That is, early indications are that is the case, but obviously that's part of the investigation. It's, I sound like a broken record going back and saying it, but it's an early onset into this investigation. So wanted to come out here and just confirm with you all that unfortunately we do have 4 victims at the fire on Wrangler Run.
And we don't know if there's children, part of the victims are children.
Yeah, it does not appear that they're children. No, if they are children, they're older children. But I don't know. It's all speculation. Like I said, it's that'll be continuing investigation. So.
Will you bring us more updates?
Yeah, probably not out here. This will probably be the only update out here because fire crews are going to start, leaving the scene. It did go to a second alarm. I should mention that. They said they asked for a second alarm as a precaution. We were able to cancel that pretty early on. That was asked for just as a precaution. So we're going to start cutting some of the crews back to get into service, and then we'll have one that will remain on scene to work with while they raise the structure and continue to support the ME and our arson investigators.
The neighboring homes were there in any danger or hurt?
Yeah, absolutely. They were in danger. That's part of the reason for the upgrading it to a second alarm is we feared that it could spread as close as these homes are together. We feared that the fire could spread, but our crews worked really aggressively once they realized, hey, we can't go into this house because of the amount of fire exposure, or the amount of fire involvement on the original house. They worked to protect the exposures, and they did a great job. Very fortunate that we did only lose one house in this.
How many tank?
Currently, there's 3 trucks on scene, but when it went at the peak of it, there was 16. But then we could de-escalate that pretty quickly.
Did they ever use a ladder?
No, ladders were never in operation.
Did you guys just go defensively, or did you try to put out the fire?
So they made an attempt to put it out from the outside to get into it, but there was so much fire when they got here that it was untenable. It was not a gamble that we could take, putting our firefighters at risk and that much fire involvement. It was the priority went to protect the neighboring homes from spreading, and then once we had that under control, we could start fighting this fire that had already collapsed partially, and then the continual collapse, and that's when they went in and knocked out the remaining hotspots and did locate the 4 victims.
Joe, what do you do with the firemen when they account for?
Right, so we have all kinds of post-incident debriefings that we can do. We have resources available, peer support. We have psychological help, professional help that they can get. We will do a debriefing on this one. The battalion chief that's here will do a debrief, and anyone that needs any kind of mental health support or emotional support, that is always there for them. That's something our department is very good at, and we pride ourselves in that and taking care of our own after something extremely traumatic like this, for sure.
Do you guys expect to be here?
It's going to be a little while. Yeah, we're going to start de-escalating it. It's already de-escalated a lot. As you can see, there's only 3 apparatus that will remain and a battalion chief and support personnel. So we'll start de-escalating that, start cutting a couple more units loose, and we'll keep one as a kind of a fire watch and to support the investigation however we need to until they can DSD can get out here and raise the structure.